सेक्स वर्ड इटसेल्फ हमारी सोसाइटी में एक
Hmm.
तरीके का ऐसा है कि इफ यू पुट सेक्स इन योर पोस्ट फर्स्ट
Hmm.
and then you put a poem, people will end up reading the poem, the entire poem, just because there is a word sex.
That we live in a society where sex is such a taboo, or it's so repressed, our desires, especially our sexual desires.
अगर किसी उसमें if I have to be dancing naked also, I will do it for the script if the script requires. मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता चौरसिया अगर मैं करता पान वाला.
Actually, the image, it's so surreal, that image of this man with a horse.
Actually, when I read the script, I thought that yes, sure, it's going to work because it worked for me.
Hi to both of you, and welcome to midday.com. I'm Atulya.
Hi.
First of all, congratulations on being part of such a fun and quirky show. I'm absolutely wrong with the show right now. And so, I want to know what are the kind of reactions that are coming your way right now?
When we were shooting the series, and when I was reading the script, I had this thing in mind, yeah, this is going to work. I know because it has honesty, it has like quirky characters, it has situations which is so much fun. At the same time, Puneet has this style of writing which says so many things with the
Yeah.
whole entertainment, layerings. So I thought it's going to work, but जैसे जैसे शो जब रिलीज होने पे आता है ना, तो everything goes upside
Yeah,
down,
gosh.
and you think कि पता नहीं क्या होगा, कैसे होगा, लोगों को समझ में क्या होगा. So I was going through all this, but मतलब मैं पूरी तरह भूल चुका था कि actually when I read the script, I thought that yes, sure, it's going to work because it worked for me. तो अभी जो reactions आ रहे हैं, the kind of reactions I'm getting, the kind of reaction people are giving to the performance, and also choti choti nitty-gritties of the show, which is so interesting. The kind of woman characters Puneet has written, the kind of underlaying layering जो things है उसमें, और जो ninth episode है, which is why one of my favorite episode, where he has shown the two men, the love between two men so beautifully that it is such a matlab, I think as a writer, to make a commercial show and to put that thing in the end, which is that love between two men, is amazing, stunning. It's one of the beautiful things that I have seen. It's not because I am part of the series. अगर
Yeah.
मैं मतलब वो सीरीज का वो नाइन्थ एपिसोड की जो बिगनिंग है, विच इज जितना भी वो समय है, वो इतना सुंदर है. मुझे लगता है कि आई थिंक अगर ये सिर्फ इतना ही हिस्सा मुझे पढ़ा देते तो आई वुड हैव डन इट फॉर फ्री, दैट शो.
Wow. Tilottama, what about you?
Usually, when I do promotions, I have a barometer about how the audience have reacted to the show based on how long my phone's battery lasts.
Yeah.
Because when there's too much action on the phone, then I have to keep recharging it. So for Tribhuvan, I know something. My phone, my TV has conked off after I saw the show. Then my phone, I keep needing to put it on the charger because it drains out. There's just been so much interaction on social media that I'm not accustomed to it. I'm sure others, because most of my life I've done independent films that are rarely watched. So it's only on OTT that that I experienced firsthand the kind of reach. It's still something that I find quite overwhelming. It's still something that I'm not really accustomed to. And there were some kind of comments that were obnoxious and lewd when the trailer had dropped, that I had received on my DM, based on their understanding of what the series is about, just watching the trailer without even having watched the show. I have to say that because I don't get those kind of negative interaction on social media, and I also spend a very limited time on it, I've heard of people being trolled and women being trolled quite viciously, but I've not experienced it firsthand.
When I was watching it, I could not help but wonder, did you guys ever morally judge your characters? Like, do you expect like people to have that kind of reaction? Oh, are you glorifying cheating or something like that? Those kind of conversations can come up ever. Did you ever think about in those lines when you read the script for the first time?
No, I don't at all.
No.
I mean, you play different characters. I mean, how can you judge? Either you say yes to the project or you say no to the project. The moment I say yes to the project, I surrender and I do everything to make sure the project is the way everyone sees it to be. And why to judge? It's an art. It's a fictional piece. Mother, why you compare this? Like everyone, I think this is the problem, that everyone just compare everything to the real world, that as if it's happening. It's not. It's for your entertainment. That's why we have created something which is out of ordinary. It is something that these two different people are coming together and having so much fun and giving you pleasure as an audience of just entertaining you, nothing else. So why my life or your life will come into the play at all? It is for your entertainment. Matlab, we have to make sure that these questions come from very weird space where you suddenly put me accountable to things which is fictional, which we
Yeah.
have created for your entertainment. I mean, I'm so sorry. I just find it
No,
very,
because
very
I thought
weird
like
that
conversations can come up, right? There are like people have
why?
this, yeah.
But why? But
Hmm.
either I will say no to the project if I don't agree
Yeah.
to certain things. But if I've
Hmm.
said yes to the project, I I see the entertainment, and
Hmm.
why will I judge? It is the character. I have done like Muslim terrorist in the film,
Hmm.
a Hindu terrorist in the film, in Wazir, in this. Now you're going to ask me that whether I'm morally. Arey, it's a
Yeah.
part of a fictional story, and I have to
Hmm.
play it to the T so that
Hmm.
it works.
Yeah.
It's it's the ability of me as an actor.
Hmm.
I have to believe in it.
Hmm.
I don't know these questions. I just don't never answer.
I think if you read the script, I
Hmm.
mean, people will do what they have to do.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think it's a personal choice what kind of projects you want to associate yourself with
Hmm.
and not. Um, I, however, feel that firstly, Puneet's script itself is lacking judgment,
Hmm.
and its power lies in that. He is not judging anybody, just revealing various layers of each of the character that exist in this world. So if the writer has not judged the characters, it will be very rare for an actor to read it and judge them.
Also, the series, has a lot of interesting characters and plot lines. So I wanted to know from both of you, if you had an opportunity to play some other character in the show, which one would you guys choose?
मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता चौरसिया अगर मैं करता पान वाला, who
Oh.
eventually comes with a
Hmm.
horse. I would have done, मतलब मुझे बड़ा मजा आता है करने में. I know the most
Yeah.
difficult thing to do is
Hmm.
that character because the way he has done it is amazing.
Yeah.
But there's some charm in it. I just
Hmm.
yeah, I मेरे को भी करना ही है. like a child like this thing कि मुझे भी करना है.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's so many. In fact, that's one of the
Yeah.
first thing I told Puneet that
Hmm.
I'm happy to play any of the men and women in your show. And I have played a man before, so in case just there, really like any of the characters, even Chaurasia, who you mentioned, I can visualize myself doing it.
Wow.
That I'm in this pawn shop and he comes and says, "Ghoda hai ki nahi?"
Yeah.
And I actually get it for him. Daddy, you actually got it for me. I was just asking. I didn't think you would do it. And
Hmm.
then actually the image, it's so surreal, that image of this
Hmm.
man with a horse.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
he's just going through this mayhem that's happening. In
Yeah.
the climax. So bizarre. And I remember asking,
Hmm.
Puneet, the horse is okay now. We're taking care of the horse, right? To Rashmi, at one point, one of the DA was like, "Ma'am is more concerned about the actor for the horse than the actor." So so I think maybe Manav, I might take your.
Yes.
Yes.
We have to both audition for Chaurasia and then we'll see.
Wow.
Yes.
Competition. Nice. Love. And also, I wanted to know, like, there are a lot of intimate scenes in the series. So, what goes on behind those scenes? Because do you want to bust some common misconceptions and myths about such scenes, how they are shot, and do you have intimacy coordinators also on the scene for all of these, the kind of workshops you go through? Want to take us through that?
Well, Manav had to do far more than I had to or anybody else. So, Manav, maybe you should start.
मुझे मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ऑफ कोर्स बिकॉज सेक्स वर्ड इटसेल्फ हमारी सोसाइटी में एक
Hmm.
तरीके का ऐसा है कि इफ यू पुट सेक्स इन योर पोस्ट फर्स्ट,
Hmm.
and then you put a poem, people will end up reading the poem, the entire poem, just because there is a word sex uh, with me, and something like that. So first of all, there is a lot of misconception about anything to do with intimate scenes and sex scenes. It's very technical. It's very respectful, and everyone has put in a lot of energy to make sure that every person on the set is actually in sync with what we are doing. So it's not about that. So we treat, especially in this set, we treat that scene as just another scene. It's not a special scene. So I just want everyone to understand this, that it is not something that we go to the Mangal Grah and shoot that scene and come back. No, it is part of what we shoot every day. So there is, see, do you know the population of this country? वो वो प्रकट नहीं हुई है, वो सेक्स करने के बाद आई है. So we are part of this. So if you ask ki what happened in the bedroom, it's the same thing happened with your parents also. That's why you came. So first of all, the whole idea of sex in our head is something कुछ अलग है, which is not part of our living day-to-day boring life. No, it is part of our living day-to-day boring life. So similarly, shooting also is part of the life. So ऐसा कुछ है नहीं कि मतलब अगर किसी उसमें if I have to be dancing naked also, I will do it for the script if the script requires. And there is nothing because his body doesn't give me anything. If that character requires, तो अगर मेरी क्या special preparation? It is part of me. So the in- the vulnerable scene which I have performed, if you talk about those, I love to talk about those because that actually required a lot of preparation rather than these things which is technical and everyone is part of it.
So I wish I had the kind of the sense of freedom that Manav has. I certainly don't. We live in a culture where there is no public demonstration of affection, and we are awkward with intimacy in public. So when we portray it on camera, there is that same awkwardness seeps in the way we portray it, you know. And I don't think there's any easy way out of this. So you can only aesthetically show it in a way that suggests people having sex without it looking too awkward. So it really boils down in such an environment, generally speaking, right? As a society, because we are awkward with intimacy, like how Manav described it, you know, making it a big deal, that awkwardness tends to seep into, you know, how there's moral policing, or there is, you know, it seeps into every aspect of our life. And on set, it boils down to the director's clarity and vision, you know, in how they want to shoot any scene, sex scene included. You know, it's not something separate. But because they're aware that there is a certain, that we live in a society where sex is such a taboo, or it's so repressed, our desires, especially our sexual desires, is so repressed that we have to create a certain protocol on set. Because it's very, like he said, it's very technical and it's very professional. So, you know, how does that protocol get set? It really flows down from the director creator, you know, in how, you know, they speak to their team, in how they've prepped, in how they've done the shot breakdown. And that environment is then ripe, you know, and I would say this for across all scenes. Now, if you want to talk particularly about scenes which are depicting sex or a certain kind of physical intimacy, then the camera position, the lighting, all those things become so actually technical that it's more like gymnastics than sex, you know. And in this case, there is often projects have intimacy coordinator, like you asked, because the actors are unable to freely communicate to their director what they're comfortable with and what they're not comfortable with. They're not able to articulate it, you know. But in this case, there was such a sense of rapport that had been built before we started shooting, that when I was asked whether I wanted an intimacy coordinator or not, I said, I'll decide after I meet you guys and hear how you are treating these scenes and how you're shooting them, And after they came home, Amrit and Puneet, my directors, we ate a meal together at home, and then they showed me how they plan to shoot, and it was a very comfortable, collaborative effort. So once I was on set, I already knew exactly what we were doing, and there was no sense of on set. Sometimes an actor can feel a pressure to say yes if everybody's saying yes, even though maybe something I'm not comfortable with. So sometimes it may not be ideal to just, if there's, for instance, an action sequence, not just sex, it's very technical. You have to, there's a lot of moving parts, right? It's best to, storyboard it, rehearse it if need be, so that people don't have questions that become stumbling blocks during the shooting. But we had none of that, because Puneet and Amrit had already done their homework, and they knew how they were treating each and every scene. They had storyboarded the entire show, so there was no question of, we were prepared. And the more prepared you are, the easier it is. And it's, it gets very, very, really comfortable to do. And I'm speaking as someone unlike Manav, who is, who's absolutely comfortable with his body and is okay to be in a set of 200 people. He has that ease, but I think living and growing up in India, 17 years in Delhi, my relationship with my body is quite fraught and it's quite complicated. And I'm not sure how many more films I need to do and how many more great people and directors, I've already met, but how many more I need to meet before the male gaze doesn't bother me if I am absolutely naked. To be free of that, I think it requires far more unconditioning. I have to admit that, I wish I could just say that, yeah, man, now so many films down, I really don't care. I can just walk across naked, and it's the crew's problem if they're embarrassed. I'm not. But no, I'm certainly not there.
Thank you. That was all night time. I wrap up right now.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.